one country up to Zimbabwe, our Zimbabwean friends up here. I just want to find out, we've got some young people here. I think, are you over there? How are you guys doing? Can you hear okay? Are you enjoying yourselves? All good? Excellent, excellent, great. Right, Zimbabwe. We've got Precious Phiri and Huggins Matanga coming up. Welcome to African Center for Holistic Management.
Thank you. Well, let me first of all thank the WAF Award organizers for recognizing our efforts, and to all the finalists who are here today. It's quite a privilege to share this moment with you. With me is our Executive Director for the Africa Center for Holistic Management, which is from Zimbabwe and began the work in 1992. We call it Holistic Land and Livestock Management, which is aimed at basically reversing deserts and their effects on food and water, but we use a tool of livestock, which we properly manage livestock because they are the ones that cause deserts, but we believe that if we properly manage it, people can gain back their life. So we work through the Savory Institute, which is our global partner. So for the past 30 years on our land, we have seen lands that we never thought would grow grass and rivers that we never thought would flow again, coming back to life, working with our communities as well as commercial farmers. And these results have been monitored for over 7 years with average rainfall or below average. And the results are quite astounding. And I'm sure you can see by the slides running on the board. And socially, we have our community members that have actually regained back their dignity and their pride because they are seeing land that didn't have grass for many years coming back to life. And in some instances, women actually drive the process, and they are very powerful because they are actually restoring their land, feeding their families for a year, getting water back into their land, having water for everybody. Going forward as the Africa Center for Holistic Management, we know that we want to be a sustainable organization that is financially sound and ecologically sound. And working with the Savory Institute, we know that we are going to impact more land in Africa and globally. And we wish Zimbabwe to lead that process. This, ladies and gentlemen, I believe is hope for humanity, for our children, and for all the future generations. I'd like to thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Now, I've been to the Hwange National Park. Is that the area that you are both from in Zimbabwe?
Yes.
That's where you're from. And Huggins, how long have you been involved in this holistic project for? Can you just stand in front of the microphone?
My 17th year.
Wow.
You might want to know, I actually joined as an accountant.
Really?
And through realizing that there is more to what we are doing, looking at the effects of climate change, looking at the fact that we are struggling to have water around us and food, I really gave it my best shot and said, let me lead. I'm the Executive Director of Africa Center for Holistic Management, and I'm proud of the work that we're doing together with the Savory Institute. But a challenge to all of us in this room to say there is much, much more work to do for us to make sure that we can reverse the ills of climate change. And also we can have water, because it's not only raining in some parts of the world, but it's raining in all the parts of the world. And as we harvest water to have effective rainfall, I'm sure we are going to win. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. And just before I bring in the panel, I mean, it goes without saying that, you know, Africa is really struggling on another front that's related. And Hwange National Park, where I've been, is absolutely beautiful home for wildlife in the Big Five. And we're talking about poaching. And poaching right now is a real problem in Africa, especially with the elephant and the rhinoceros. And we've spoken about that already today. Right. Who would like to go first this time? Ayrton?
Okay, so one of the first things I like about this is when Alan Savory and many other people thought that, so basically when he and other people thought that livestock were the cause to desertification, and both of them thinking that 40,000 elephants are killed, and that Alan Savory had the courage and honesty to say that was wrong, which is a very rare thing in this world. And because of him having courage and honesty, he managed to find this solution which is planned grazing. And also another thing is the big vision that you could do this all across Africa, and this is possible because there's livestock all across Africa.
Congratulations again, working with local communities and restoring the soil. Everything starts from the soil. And what I loved about your project is you use the traditional knowledge, traditional ways, which has been very sustainable all throughout history, and which we forgot in the last 150 years only, to go back and reverse. And it exemplifies that if you give nature a chance, it will bounce back very easily, but we just have to be committed to do so. And you do so very well. The other thing which astounded me a lot, and I completely agree with you, is you're giving back the dignity to the people. And this is one thing we should all strive for and learn from you, because without dignity we have nothing, but you've given it back. So congratulations, you are the hope.
Brian?
I don't think we can secure the food production to the whole world without Africa. We cannot. Global food demand necessitates that we include African, certainly the smallholders. And environmental challenges and water storage, drought and poor infrastructure inhibit agriculture already today. And these factors actually call for a holistic framework approach, and I think you got it. Traditional thinking often is a conflict between economic growth, environmental issues, and sustainable social development. But this project actually challenges this traditional thinking in a new sustainable approach, where the three elements, people, planet, profit, actually are coexisting. I think you have one very big mission after this. It's about replicate and upscale.
Yeah.
Well, whenever I say well, my mother says that's a deep subject. I made a film called Hope in a Changing Climate that came out in the time of Copenhagen, and immediately after this was shown, Alan Savory called me on the phone, and he said, you need to rethink your position on domesticated animals. And I said, well, okay, I'll look into it. So I have visited holistic pasture management in Australia, and there I can tell you that the dramatic results to increase biodiversity and soil moisture is extraordinary. That what is needed to understand from a scientific perspective is that there are indicators and determinants for sustainability and survival. And we are looking in some of the wrong places, but the holistic pasture management is looking in the right place, because it is the percentages and total amounts of organic material in the soils and the percentages and total amounts of biomass that are determining the natural regulation of hydrology, weather, and climate. And so if humanity wants to survive, it needs to understand that it's not the number of iPads or other criteria the GDP growth or any of those things, they're not going to determine survival. The percentages and total amounts of organic materials in the soil and the percentages and total amounts of biomass will determine that. And if you look at the evolutionary climax, the height of the canopy or the girth of the plant life, it was massively larger than it is today. And so once we understand, and the things that the holistic pasture management are doing, is they're going for the long term. If you take this perspective on a planetary scale and you restore the vast areas of the land that are grasslands, then in 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, we're going to be in a much better position, because all of this is accumulative. We've been in a disaccumulative trend because we've been destroying these things because we didn't value them. It's necessary to value them. Congratulations for your work.
Yeah, yeah. And I have to say, I was just reflecting on all of that against the backdrop of, what has been going on in Zimbabwe, because I've just finished reading a book called When the Crocodile Eats the Sun, which is it really moved me, because, that is so inspiring, what we've just heard from Precious and Huggins, against the backdrop of a really difficult situation that has gone on for a long time in Zimbabwe.